means consistent with state of California executive orders regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Zoom is being utilized for this meeting. In case of technical issues, meetings will be uploaded to the city website as soon as possible after the meeting. We will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom. Committee members and staff are participating from remote locations, practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting by use of Zoom as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak to the Climate Action Committee may do so during public comment or make comment on agenda items during the discussion of each item and must be logged into Zoom. Anyone using abusive, vulgar, offensive, threatening, or harassing language, personal attacks of any kind, or offensive terms that target specific individuals or groups will be muted and removed from the meeting. Please do not abuse this new way to provide public comment. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do roll call.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start off with Jerry Glazer. We did hear from him that he's sick and likely won't be here today. Alex Goodman. Alex looks like he's here, but you're muted.
I'm here. Sorry about that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Dina Allen.
Yes.
Joshua Somane.
Yes, thank you.
Kenna Lee.
I'm here.
Lisa Pierce.
I'm here.
Debbie Burns.
I'm here.
Sonali Sikland. I do not see Sonali. Woody Hastings. Woody is not here. Argus Brent. I don't see Ambrosia Thompson.
Here.
And Sarah Gurney is no longer on this committee since she is retired. Diana Rich is on the road and may be joining us later.
All right, so I had thought I would have a fabulous inspiration for our new start to a new year, but I'm going to table that until the chair reports. And there's Sonali. Partially because I just have not been feeling very well this week. So we'll move on to the review of action items.
Yes, action items from last time. I have a couple of things that are sort of floating things that we need to deal with at some point, which is more clarifications about interfacing with other city departments and when things are brought to the committee. We had some discussion on that previously, but more remains to be done. Similarly, more planning and action is needed to figure out how to integrate the climate action framework with other city departments. On more practical matters, folks were asked to submit anything for the city council presentation before or after our last meeting, on which more later, I am sure. And then in a current sense, this month, all working groups are encouraged to start to itemize their anticipated expenses for work plan items for the year, and with an eye towards getting any budget requests into the planning budget in early February.
Thank you, Joshua. Do we have any comments from the public regarding items not on the agenda today? That would be you guys, Zeno and Steve. All right, so we'll move on. Any statements of conflicts of interest from the members of the committee? I know this part usually takes a long time. No, but today it's short. Okay, so we're ready for the planning department report.
Sure. So I think it's been a little while with the holidays since we last met. So the last time this group met, I believe, was before the CIC had gone to council with the work plan on December 20th. And I'll let the chairs fill in on that report, but I will note that the work plan was approved by council. The only change that they made was to eliminate the numbering, because they felt like all of the 10 goals were fine, but not necessarily in that priority. And I think that's kind of how the CIC saw them as well. So that's how your chairs and I, when we discussed it with them, said that's seemed fine to us. They also wanted to clarify that it, since we didn't know what the cost might be with those, that it didn't necessarily commit the city to costs. We explained to them that this, any costs might come forth in the next budget cycle. So, and that was part of your next steps, was to start to look at those work components, other than the electrification study, which is already budgeted for in the planning department budget. So, that was one big thing. And then January 3rd, meeting, the big item, or what I think is the big item, is our housing element went to council and was adopted. So that's a major planning department work item, which is now complete and sent off to the state, and knock on wood, they'll certify it ASAP, so that we can start the implementation on that. Other things coming up, we have, we did have a couple of items go to the planning commission last night. One of them was a use permit for St. Stephen's Church on Robinson Road to add kind of a pretty unique accessory use, which is they have a children's playground there and a lot of community and neighborhood kind of serving uses on their property. It's a pretty large property. I think it's more than 5 acres. So it's almost sort of a de facto neighborhood park in a way. They are adding a kind of a food stand and alcohol with a club license. So for church members only. Well, obviously membership to churches is pretty open. And so that was approved by the planning commission. Had a lot of neighbor support, so that was good to see. And then a preliminary review for a residential project at the Healdsburg Murphy vacant lot that surrounds the never-ending Healdsburg Murphy project. The planning commission, the DRB reviewed it in December. The planning commission reviewed it last night. This is a preliminary review. They haven't done their formal submittal, but they did talk, support the idea of 100% residential at that site. And per usual, we had questions about universal design and accessibility for folks there, as well as making sure that it has solar and it is being proposed with heat pumps and things like that. So from a climate perspective. The other update that I would actually like to get, kind of let me know if this is the right time for it or not, but there's, I've been in discussions with our Holly Hansen about the website update. We do have, should I just go ahead? Is that okay? Okay, so we have a couple of different pages that relate to the Climate Action Committee. The main one is sort of the committee page, which has the various projects on it, which is, I would say, very, if not very up to date. There is also a couple of things on under our community. One is Bayren, which is certainly up to date. That's a new program. There are some ongoing programs, but there's also a couple of links that are like strategic plan hasn't been updated since 2002. There's 2 that relate to climate. One is this climate protection campaign. I'm not sure, I don't know anything about it other than it's something dating back to 2002 and links to the Sonoma Climate Action Plan and inventory stuff, which has never been updated. I will admit, I don't look at this page and think about updating it just because I'm usually trying to.
Carrie, do you think you could share screen and show us what you're talking about?
I am sorry. I thought I was pointing to my screen and I thought I was sharing. So yeah, so sorry. So yeah, so this is your committee page with the various sort of current projects. The page that I'm talking about is under our community growth and sustainability. The EV charging stations and map is kept up, is current. The street tree program, the Bayren and Sebastopol walks are. This is a planning thing we're getting rid of. Sustainable Sebastopol and climate protection campaign both are very dated, and so I'm wondering if I suggest they could probably go away and somehow be combined or be combined somewhere. The climate protection campaign, yeah, is sort of the older link to the Sonoma County Climate Action Plan. That stuff can still be there and migrate over, whatever's still relevant, which is, I mean, that's it for that page. And then the other one is Sustainable Sebastopol, which includes some history stuff, but I don't think is terribly, I mean, I think you guys have done a lot more updates on the current web page that you guys have compared to this. And so I guess the question is this something you guys feel you would want to take on and update, or should we somehow combine it with your main page, whether that's on the committee page or some other, still on this growth and sustainability page, but just a new refresh? And I would be asking the education outreach folks to help update that text.
Carrie, if you can just call on people, that would be great.
Oh, sure. Lisa?
So those are really good questions, I think. And it seems like maybe we should all take a look at these pages and just, because I'm not really prepared to have an opinion about it without checking it out first, but maybe we could get back to you on that, Carrie?
That would be great. And if there's people in particular, I mean, you can just email me, but if we can either, we can agendize it for the next meeting if there's a group that wants to work on it or something like that. It's not a critical piece, but it is something they're trying to work on.
I wasn't even aware those pages were there.
Me neither, really. I will admit, me neither. Joshua?
There we go. Yeah, thanks for bringing those to our attention, Carrie. I wasn't available or aware of them either. I, in general, second Lisa's principle that it's worth more study on our front, but my impression is that the climate protection campaign is essentially an older planning document. I would tend to agree with you that that would be obsolete at this point, that there's other documents that are more active at present. The other one, the Sustainable Sebastopol, again, not having looked at it deeply, but it looked like it was sort of a list of ways that the city has addressed these issues in the past and sort of a history of action by the city. If I'm correct in that impression, I think that there's some value in still having that up there and just showing everybody, hey, the city has already done a bunch of stuff. And it could also be linked to, current efforts of this committee or whatnot. I would suggest that page of actions by the city essentially stay up, but not necessarily merge with the committee page, because in a way that's the background which we're working from and taking further. So that's just my initial hit on it, open to further study.
Sure, and it does have a lot of suggestions about kind of what you can do that I think would be great if it was sort of updated. So,
sorry, one more addendum on that. I know that Phoebe did a really good job also sort of going through all the things that the city had done and would suggest that kind of comparing her history and background that was from the framework with this document would be a great place to just straighten things up a little bit.
Right. Sunali.
Hi, folks. Happy New Year. I haven't seen you since then. Thank you for bringing these to our attention. I think when I've gone on to the city website, for me, it's not the most navigatable. It just feels, yeah, and I'm sure you guys are in process of like making that more user-friendly, that I appreciate the suggestion of integrating those pieces with the climate action work so that there's like one spot to go to and navigate in that realm, because I think that that's, for me, what makes sites more appreciable is like when the flow is easy instead of information that's scattered all over the place. And especially the stuff that you mentioned of recommendations and suggestions, that would be good to field. And maybe that is something Yeah, that we should just have on our radar for our page as well, to like have that on a schedule of periodic review and update so that it's fresh and current.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dina.
I didn't know those existed either. So if we do keep something of the history in that section it is now, maybe on our page, we can still have a mention and a link. So if you're reading about the Climate Action Committee and you want to go back into some city history, you know it exists and you click on the link and go to that.
Okay, great. So I think that these are all wonderful suggestions. I think what I'll suggest is that to the website folks is that we know we want to keep some of that information, but it should certainly be combined, and then we'll know we want to do some sort of link from the CAC page or back and forth between those two. So to me, there was clearly these can be combined under a sort of climate and sustainability is what it's called, maybe instead of growth and sustainability or something like that. And then, yeah, make sure that it's in a place where it's easy to find. So the fact that none of the folks on the climate action who have spoken or myself knew it was there until today, it says something, which is, yes, why we're updating our website to get rid of a bunch of the stuff and make it easier to navigate. Steve?
This isn't related to that topic, but from that council meeting where Joshua and Kenna, you did a great job in the quarterly report. I was wondering, there was some discussion that the Mayor Hinton brought up about changing how often the committee reports out. She kind of gave feedback saying that she felt like it was a little bit too much or more than other committees. And so I don't know how that will get resolved. It didn't seem like the council beyond her gave any more feedback on that.
Steve, I'm going to bring that up in the council, in the chair report section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you though.
Excellent. And Sonali, did you have something else? Or is your hand just lingering? Okay, I'll go wait for you. Okay, and then I think the last update that I have is
Joshua, were you wanting to speak to the website again?
No, sorry, I have a question for Carrie after the next one.
Okay, I just wanted to choose. I don't want to forget it. I spoke with Dante today, and he is the library solar stuff. I know he's been coordinating directly with the energy committee, but that is going to the city council next Tuesday. And I just got the final documents from him. So I'm just going to go ahead and send that to the entire subcommittee if I may. And if you're not interested, go ahead, but otherwise you'll have the information. So he definitely wanted me to pass that along. And I think that's it for my updates. Joshua, you have a question.
Yeah, Carrie, I just wonder if you can give us an update on the timeline and process for the confirmation of new committee members.
Oh, yes, thank you. We, and actually, I think you're the one who hasn't replied, and I think I may have sent it to an older email for you, so now that I think about it. The climate action, so we did have Kathy Ottinger, who was reappointed to the Planning Commission. That was the one board that was not extended, so she'll be on that for another 4 years. And then for our Climate Action Committee and Design Review Board, they are going to be doing interviews starting at 4 p.m. on February 7th. And I have gotten confirmations from everybody except Joshua. So, and obviously if you didn't get the email, that explains why. The time, and if you can confirm just via text right now, is for 5:40 is when you were assigned. And if that works for you, that'd be great. Does that work?
Yes, I can do that. Thank you.
Perfect. I will put you down as confirmed. Thank you. Any other questions about city stuff? I will say just if anyone does have trees within city limits that they're concerned about for emergency removal, John's smiling because he and I are the folks to contact about that. We can put you in touch. Either we can come out and look at it if it's super simple, clear, that's not an issue an emergency tree removal on the spot, or we can send our city arborist out to take a look at it. So let us know.
Thank you. And Carrie, were the committee assignments, do we know who our council liaison is?
We don't yet. The committee assignments are being done slightly differently this year, but they are scheduled to be discussed at the council meeting next Tuesday.
Okay. Great, thank you.
And I will be there for that, so I'll be able to let folks know.
So we will just remain a little bit in flux for a few more weeks to figure out who our membership really is.
Well, hopefully that person would be assigned for your next meeting, or one or two people.
Great.
And so,
but also the new members.
Yes, and then the new members would be, yes, February 7th. We had 4 folks apply for that. Did you want to know who those folks were?
Sure.
It is Joshua and Alex reapplied. Zeno has applied to be an actual member now, so great there. And Emmett Hopkins is the 4th applicant that we have.
So you didn't, I thought I sent you another application. I did send you another application.
Was it before the deadline or after?
It was after, but I thought we had.
I think we need to ask council to reopen applications for those that we didn't have. They are proceeding with the ones they do have right now.
Okay.
And so, yeah, hold on for that. And I think we'll make sure that we're writing the staff reports for that, right? Well, hopefully next week if our planning tech is back. And we'll make sure we
get one more application.
Great.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Yeah, it can't be considered if it was after the deadline.
Got it.
But if we'll recommend that council reopen for the business member and the youth, and then hopefully we get that environmental justice, and then if we get an application in that round.
Great. And I guess this is the moment for me to present what I was going to say in chair reports. Was Argus was planning to attend this meeting today to say goodbye because he has decided he cannot continue. So we have officially 2 youth spots open. All right. I don't know if he has to do anything other than just tell me that he's not.
If he can send me an email, that would be great. Then I can send that to the city clerk for official purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then yes, we'll definitely include that the youth recruitment in the
I think
potential open until filled.
Try to stay away from juniors in high school. They're so overwhelmed. Joshua, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick addition on that youth member front. I was going to be meeting with the high school Climate Action Club this week. It got pushed back due to some of their registration conflicts. So I'm anticipating meeting with them next week. It sounds like the group is predominantly juniors and seniors. And so what I'm going to be suggesting to them is that they apply as a pair, essentially. If we could get 1 senior and 1 junior, from the club at the school to sort of tag team on the youth seat here, then that might help us with the youth turnover kind of issue, and that they can, kind of support each other, and hopefully the junior becomes a senior and then another junior comes on, something like that. Anyway, I'll keep you posted. More news next time.
Great, thank you. Ambrosia?
Yeah, Joshua, I work with the Climate Action Committee at the high school. So I would just say that they're all qualified. Zoe Lee is a great leader and she is very well spoken. She knows what she's doing. So I don't know if she's going to apply, but I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. She's great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so
she had
Ambrosia, we can encourage you to encourage them.
I am happy to.
She had a nice article. She wrote an article for, was it the Sebastopol Times? Zoe Lee did, about the work they're doing. It was nice. Okay, moving on. So we don't have a city council member here to do a city council report, but I think Carrie covered anything that might have been in place. So yeah, Zeno. There you are.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, happy New Year, everybody. I hope you guys and possibly I and everybody in this committee has a productive upcoming year. I had a question, and it was partially answered already by Kari, but the city council is represented on various committees in the county, like the Transportation Authority, Sonoma Clean Power. And I wonder whether, I assume that these appointments will be made on Tuesday, or discussed at least. And I wonder, are there other appointments that are relevant for the climate committee that we have to be kind of aware of and following a bit?
Thank you. All right, Ambrosia, I'm assuming your hand is still a legacy.
Yes, sorry, I will
Okay.
put it down.
So I think we'll move on to the regular agenda and start with the energy group and the wonderful report they gave us regarding the electrification survey and their projects.
We kind of had counted on Jerry kind of taking the lead here. And I haven't been able to reach Steve, but can you take charge of this, Steve?
Sure, I can share my screen and share the packet document if we want to go through that. The whole idea is that we were just trying to give more of an informational update to the status of the survey. And Carrie, I know you had some questions around the dates, and we were trying to get a hold of Jerry this afternoon, but he's sick, and we are looking at hopefully starting it on March 1st and running through to May 1st, assuming that works with the rest of the committee. And we've already kind of gone through in previous meetings the actual survey questions. I think nothing's written in stone. If people have actual, something really looks like, oh, that should be changed, we can certainly change it. And then we've added an additional postcard size marketing piece that was part of the packet too, that we'll use to hand out in person at the farmers market and other in-person venues that will be coming up. So I don't think I really need to go through and share each of the questions and the document. So at this point, I think we're just looking for feedback, if there is any, on the survey and on the postcard and on the timing of the release of the survey.
Yeah, and the postcard, hopefully people will be able to take pictures of the information with their phones, people we meet, but we wanted to have something to hand out for people who didn't want to do that. So I think it would be good, Steve, if we could at least, if you could share your screen of the postcard. Do you have that handy?
I will try to do that. Let's see.
Joshua?
Yeah, just one little suggestion. The work looks great in general. I really want to commend you guys on how much thought and development you've put into this. I had just one suggestion, which is that there's a question that comes pretty late on, are you considering adding or replacing any of the following appliances? And I would just suggest that question could go closer to the beginning, maybe even as the first question, because I think that's the entry point for a lot of people that, oh, we're going to replace something. What should we replace it with? And you sort of start with like, do you know about all the cool appliances, and do you want to do anything changing in your house where, you might say, do you want to change it? Do you know about this cooler stuff you could do? So just a suggestion on the sequencing.
That's a great suggestion. I really like that. Thank you. So let's see.
I can start from the top if we like.
Well, are we going to actually go through it?
That's a good question. It depends on if other people have more comments just off the bat.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we want to spend time going through the whole thing or just kind of assume that people will go through it and make comments if they have any. What do you think, Carrie and Joshua and Kenna? Do you think we need to spend time on this in the meeting?
I don't think so. I mean, you guys sent it out with plenty of warning, and also we've already gone through it in the past. So, but if everybody in the meeting is like, no, please, let's go through it, I'm open to that. We're not, so packed on the agenda that we don't have time if we need it. But unless anybody starts yelling and screaming and saying, please show it, I think we don't need to.
Great. All
I
right.
will go ahead and show the postcard at the end, just
Perfect.
because Lisa did such a good job with it.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, those are the two sides. It doesn't quite show all the way on my screen, but basically it's a front and back postcard. And if there isn't sufficient money for the budget for this, Steve and I are okay with just paying for the printing ourselves. So we'll see. We just don't want to, spend a lot of money. Carrie?
So in terms of the printing, I think I had mentioned, but maybe I didn't hit send. It's been a busy week. We in the planning department have it's what we send our public notices on. They're it's like a cardstock that has a perforation in the middle, so that we can print those double-sided and in color for you, and that won't be any cost. That's just part of my normal city budget, so we can do that.
Yeah, you did say something about that before. I just wasn't sure. I didn't want to be presumptuous, but that sounds really good.
Yeah, I would ask, because both of our planning texts are out right now, so we don't have anyone to do that printing. If we can wait a couple weeks, it sounds like if it's not starting till March, that might be okay.
Yeah.
But then we can do it. We can coordinate that with Nico, one of our planning techs.
So at this point, we just need to get some kind of link to the survey and the QR code. That's not the right one. That actually takes you to the I think a different Climate Action Committee website or something like that. Zeno?
Yeah, I'm on there, and so I scanned the survey, so this may have been covered, but I hear sometimes people say they don't want to give up gas because it gives them extra flexibility in the case of a power outage. And I wonder whether that's, I don't know how many people feel like that. And that certainly would be something that you want to know about. So I don't know, can you explore that a little bit more, or?
Yeah, I think most people probably feel like that, that they appreciate the gas being available, and if their power goes out, and for generators and all kinds of things. So there is, that was that question that's been up there now.
Yeah. Is it possible to
It's a question. It's a checkbox.
battery backup? Would that answer your problem? How serious is your concern? So you have already kind of a next step anticipating because a survey like this also has like an educational value and primes people to the problem, right? Anyhow, this was a point I wanted to bring up. Thank you.
Well, I think it's a big concern and a legitimate concern, you know, that it's probably the main, that and the cost of electricity are the things that people are the most concerned about with making the switch.
Yeah, thanks.
Alex? Oh,
Hey, this is Alex here. Yeah, I would just say, I mean, I think it gives everybody like more peace of mind. I mean, I lost power for 5 days, and it was nice to have a gas stove for sure. But I mean, when we're thinking about the majority of people in Sebastopol, I'm not sure a lot of people even lost power. I don't mean, you guys would have to speak for yourselves there, but when we're thinking about more like folks in town, I don't know how much risk there is of losing power for more than like 12 hours or 24 hours, you know, which I think people can survive on just fine without any utilities, you know. But I don't know, that's just my thought. I think moving this direction seems, for the vast majority of people, making more sense.
We do anticipate that there will be quite a few people filling this out that don't live within the city limits of Sebastopol. In fact, I'm not aware of any large output or wide audience for electrification survey. So we may have a lot of people just in the region that get the links from various sources and fill it out, which is great because it'll just add to the knowledge in general.
yeah, one thing I
Don't
want,
you want to know where these people live then?
We do have a question
Yeah.
about do you live in city limits? Let's
Oh,
see,
yeah.
where is
I should
that?
probably have read this, shouldn't I?
so what we envision is doing tabling at the farmers markets and other events, and approaching people with the survey, information about the survey. And also Tora and Dina are working on putting together a carbon conversation event at the Grange. They do a number of these events. Pre-COVID, they put on a lot of really great events there. And there's going to be an event on electrification, probably on, is it the 17th of April or the 5th?
I think it's the 5th.
Oh, the 5th of April. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
confirmed.
Oh, good. So we can promote that event also at the same time as talking to people about the survey.
And I think there'll be a educational opportunity when we share the survey responses as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if like what Zina's bringing up turns out to be a major concern, which it may well be, we can address it in the dissemination of the results.
Yeah, I think it is a stumbling block for sure. And at this point, there's no really great answers for that. Alex, did you still have your hand up? So any more questions from anybody else?
You guys have just done a great job of keeping this moving forward and making it thorough without being overwhelming, and kind of just threading that needle of a survey that feels like it's manageable, but is getting a good, meaningful level of information from the respondents. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to hear about heat pumps, and it's sort of like this door is starting to open in terms of awareness. And so we're really hoping that this can help spread the word and give people some more useful information eventually. especially when we start talking to them.
Steve, I don't think we need the screen share any longer unless someone has more questions about the survey. Thank you. Okay, now I can see you all. Okay. So is there anything else Energy Group wants to discuss before we move on?
I don't think so. Can you think of anything, Steve?
Well, I can say that Jerry in particular has been quite busy doing a lot of work on the kind of the next year's work plan items, and has given a lot of detail and thought to it. And I imagine he'll be coming up before the committee in either the next meeting or the following one with quite a bit of information.
Yeah,
So, things to come.
It's been really great, actually.
Awesome, thank you. That's good to know. And he's been sick too. All right, so we can move on to, I guess, Energy Group. You would be more ready to discuss funding priorities at the next meeting, based on that Jerry's not here and he's been leading the charge on the work plan items.
I think we can probably say that we won't really have any more detail on funding priorities because things are not baked enough to put dollar amounts behind things.
Okay.
So we can
yeah.
talk about it some more for sure.
Okay. Thank you. So this is and I think we're moving on to items B and C, and really I think we can take them together a little bit because we'd like to hear from the working groups, but we'd like your funding requests or your funding priorities to come forward, unless someone would like to speak to general funding priorities outside of the working groups. So I will start that, which is I did reach out to Tanya to see if she was open to another Civic Spark Fellow if we had a project to propose, and she is open to that. So, which is amazing. So if that would be, and in my opinion, like having that person who can just really keep the ball rolling, even though we don't have as defined of a project as a climate action framework to bring forward. I think we have plenty of projects that we could assign and apply for a Civic Spark Fellow for. So that's something I wanted to put out to everyone to know that's a request we could make. There is precedent for doing it. Of course, we have a different council now, and California is in a whole different kind of budget situation now in many ways, but that is on the table as a possibility. And so does anyone else have any general funding topics to discuss, or we can move straight to working group reports? Go ahead, Joshua.
Yeah, more of a question, just in terms of planning for, trying to budget out these work plan items. I know that to some extent there are staff costs associated with outreach. So sort of anytime we're wanting to promote something or get word out to the community in these various ways, there's some staff time associated with that costs money that should be budgeted for. I don't know how to even ballpark that sort of staff time for promotions or newsletters or whatever it takes. And I'm wondering if we might ask for some guidelines on that of just, if you want to make a series of announcements, it's likely to cost in the neighborhood of a few thousand or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Carrie, if you can go ahead and respond.
Yes, I think, and I started to do this last year with Holly. So there's two different kind of types. One is if it's in-house staff, it's helpful for me to know, just to know that, if we don't get, I agree, it'd be great to have another Civic Spark person or Civic Ball, whatever they're calling themselves, something different these days, but to be able to kind of help with that kind of stuff. But assuming we don't get that, it would be, or even if we do that, to just kind of know where that, where some of that staff time might be. I would say if you know what it is you'd like to see, what you think you're going to need in terms of outreach, like, I know Alex had asked for, printing of flyers and the sort of refreshments for meetings or things like that. Those are helpful for me, and I can try to figure out kind of what that generally costs per meeting, or if you kind of have already done that research, that's fine. But and then if you know you're going to want to do, say, a survey, you don't necessarily need to know the numbers, but if you know what it is, then I can work with Holly to say, hey, it's sort of like this project that we did. What do you think that'll cost? And you can kind of shorthand and understand and put some numbers to it based on what it is you think you're going to need. Whether that's either dollars for a contract with Holly and her staff, or whether it's staff time where I'm going to need to find, or like right now, our planning techs are contract folks. So is that something where I could get additional budget to get them to help with some of that stuff?
Does that address your concerns, Joshua? Sounds like yes. Okay, Alex?
I have something more like goals in the long-term planning question. I'm not sure if it's not really about funding specifically, but it was just part of the exercise we did in November, and maybe I missed how that's transitioning into the new year. I just kind of I just had a quick question on that. Is this the right time, or?
Well, I think that's relevant to funding, but if Dina has a really specifically funding related question, let's let her go first and then have you ask yours.
I have a question too. I just can't seem to raise my hand right
Okay, I'll call on you after Dina.
now.
I was just going back to the Civic Spark. My questions are so if we don't have a big project like develop the framework like Phoebe did, can we have a bunch of related small projects that a Civic Spark can do? And since they can't write grants and they're supposed to be a grant writer, are they allowed to help research? Like Phoebe, when she was leaving, she had mentioned to Joshua and myself that she had watched some presentations about some grants coming up that might address some of the city's needs that have to do with stormwater and water. So my question is, what can the Civic Spark do? A bunch of little projects like that?
The Civic Spark Fellow needs to have 2 big projects. And we could build in, although like there's lots of pieces to writing grant, they could write reports that would then be useful for grant proposals, et cetera. So I think, looking at resilience planning, or, we would really need to sit down and hash out like, okay, energy group thinks this is the big project, and, maybe it's the tree inventory, like each working group could put forward their idea of what is the biggest project that we would want to see the most traction on, that could be really helped by having a person. But there do need to be big projects. Like we can't just say like, we're going to use them and they'll be useful. I don't know, Carrie, if you want to add anything.
No, I think that's good. I'm actually trying to think about the different projects that are on the so it does want to be something bigger than just outreach or something like that. But if they're like the microgrid project or something like that, or if there was something like the EV infrastructure pilot project kind of a thing, and it doesn't necessarily need to be the implementation. It can be the planning and the steps to get you there too. I think their goal is to expand the capacity of local government, where especially smaller local governments don't necessarily have the capacity in-house to do these types of projects, but not as a substitution for staff, so to speak. And I do know that the one thing that they are not allowed to do is anything political. So like utility user tax increase kind of a thing. They would not be able to work on something like that.
All right, Debbie?
Thank you. Sorry, my real hand is wrangling a puppy right now, so I couldn't raise the hand. I was just curious if we had any updates on if we could, as a committee, raise funds that we could funnel through the city back into our committee to use for some of these beyond the fundraising committee that we have that's looking at bigger, grants and things like that. Can we do other sources of fundraising and, for the committee?
And again, I'm deferring to you, Carrie, or to John. Neither of you guys want to speak to that.
I will say that this is not something, because I'm not a municipal finance expert, I'm not sure about this. And I do, Debbie, I do know that you asked me this via email, I think previously, and it got lost and buried in my inbox. I apologize.
No problem.
I'm going to send the city clerk and finance director an email right now about that to try to get a response.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, that would be great. I know things are crazy. That's why I thought I'd ask again. And also, do we have a new city manager, or is Larry still here for now?
Larry is still here. He announced, as many city managers do, announced his retirement far in advance of when it's actually when his retirement is actually going to be. The city council, I would guess, will embark on some sort of search for a new city manager. That's usually
Just wondering, because I thought,
so he will be staying on until that time so that there's a smooth transition.
okay, because he might be involved in knowing if we can raise the funds as well.
Yeah, I'm including him as well. Yep.
Thank you so much, Carrie.
Yeah.
All right, Alex.
Hey, what's going on? I just want to add to Debbie's piece. Like, even if we're thinking about doing some sort of event, like maybe one larger event during the year that would potentially make money, as if we charge for tickets or something, that would be like one possible scenario. Anyway, okay, so let's see. Okay, so the planning work that for goals and for kind of like the stuff that we did in November for that, I forget exactly what we called that session, but for that work, was there any ever like follow up via email or in the meeting? Maybe I just missed it. I was just trying to find that information so that I could help for the working groups that I have use that information and kind of help structure our goals for the new year.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not tracking super well.
Sorry. So the work that we did with Phoebe and
Yeah.
Joshua, so is there a place where that's been consolidated, or is there like a more formal like draft of those goals or those priorities that we have?
So we have you mean other than the formal work plan that was approved by the council?
No, that's probably what I'm talking about then.
Okay. Maybe we should send that out. Do we have a version?
It's probably an email.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
And I thought I had sent it out December 21st, 22nd, but again.
December 21st may have been a time that none of us were reading our email.
Let me check.
I could have missed it. I could have missed it. I get a lot of attachments, so I don't know, but I'm just excited to use it, and I just wasn't sure. I didn't know if we really went over it or if I just missed it. I have been a little spotty on some of these meetings, so I was like, maybe I just missed something. So it sounds like that's what I'm looking for, and we're all good.
Yeah, there's an approved version, which I believe is what Carrie holds, which is like the unnumbered version.
Correct. I did the edits to that, and I will actually send it out in Word to this group, but make the PDF and post that to the website.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Does that address your concerns, Alex? Or was there kind of a second piece to
No, that's it.
Okay.
Well, from that, I guess it'll just be, we're gonna like our, the goal for everyone for the working groups is just to use that work plan to structure our work for 2023, and the projects that we do kind of are supposed to, we're really trying to keep track of and hit those framework actions as best we can.
Great.
That's the idea, right?
That's the idea. Yeah, thank you. All right, Joshua.
Yeah, thank you. Just to circle back briefly on the Civic Spark front. On the one hand, yes, the sequestration working group project for street tree inventory and audit is something that this would be great to hand off to a Civic Spark fellow. That's kind of a back burner project for us. We've been thinking about it for a while and realizing that Dina and I do not personally have the capacity to drive that forward with much speed, given the other things on our plate. Again, that I think it would be a great thing to do. It's easy to tie into a lot of community goals and carbon goals. It's not necessarily the hottest priority in town, so would certainly be open to that being a secondary project if somebody else comes up with something else that the Civic Spark can do that's more urgent. Just wanted to offer that as one of those things if we decide to pursue that line. And secondly, I'm just wondering what the Civic Spark deadline application was. I forget because I wasn't involved in that process previously.
I'm going to have to look it up.
I don't recall what it is, but I think it's just before the adoption of the budget, because they wanted to make sure that if they didn't include it in the budget, that that would be okay.
I mean, I want to
So
say like
it's
April, May, something like
yeah,
that.
I want to say it's like May or something.
Okay.
All right. I think that's all of the questions about funding in general. So we'll move on to working group reports, and feel free to throw your funding ideas in. I feel like we've already heard from Energy, and I'm guessing you guys don't have anything more to say. Go ahead, Dina.
Well, quick sequestration, we're having 2 compost giveaways, and they're going to be set up for April and May. And we're also moving forward with trying to help the community garden by the skate park, and planning out how to fix that up, perhaps providing some compost, and perhaps showing up to a work day. And we'll let you all know about that as it solidifies. Alex can talk about the engagement series for education and outreach, but I have a question, because in our framework, and I think I might have read it elsewhere, maybe in the general plan or something, there is wording something to the effect about sharing out or supporting other community efforts that have to do with climate that maybe the Climate Action Committee is not directly related or involved in. So how are we supposed to do that? Because it seems if I send something to Carrie to approve for Holly to get out there, it's always things that are directly related to our climate action group.
Carrie, do you want to answer that?
And I apologize. I'm also not tracking well after the last.
I could try to say it simpler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if part of our mission is to share other climate related events or education things that the Climate Action Committee might not directly be running, how do we share that out? You're the gatekeeper of what Holly can send in newsletters and press releases and things like
Well,
that.
and usually those are only city functions. That's the
Exactly.
Yeah. So
So
those
how do
aren't necessarily of other.
How do we fulfill this idea that
that you guys are creating a calendar of other events that are going on, or wanting to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, we never really
Mm.
got too far with that whole calendar thing, but I think that one thing that when you asked that question, Dina, it seems like we didn't want to replicate what other people were already doing. And the Sebastopol Times is doing a pretty great job, I think, of what's happening in Sebastopol this week and next week. And, you know, I think that would be certainly one thing we could do, is reach out to them. But as far as in an official capacity with the city, I don't know.
Well, I do want to point out that we did remove the calendar from the list of CAC duties when we redefined our duties.
Yeah.
Partially for this reason.
Yeah, so here's a prime example. I think Lisa mentioned the carbon conversations. So those are put on by the Sebastopol Grange and the Rahus Institute, and they're starting up again. February through June is already scheduled, the first Wednesday evening of each month. Kenna, I think you are moderating February 1st, so you're involved in moderating this discussion after we watch a short video that is a study on what the climate impacts will be on our immediate area. And then Lisa and Steve are involved in the electrification carbon conversation. That will be April 5th, the first Wednesday in April. And that's also a city, it's kind of a city thing, because Lisa and Stephen and the group are doing all this work around it, but this event is not sponsored by us. So there's crossover of why sharing this sort of information could be useful.
I agree. I'm not
I don't
sure.
have the answer.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it needs to be within the city, and I'm wondering if there's a relationship, like you have a relationship with the Sebastopol Times, in terms of just letting them know about the information. I mean, the Grange is probably notifying them as well, or, you know, posting it to Nextdoor yourself as a, hey, this is coming up, or Facebook, or however you want to do that, versus having it need to go through the city somehow. Because I agree, that would be, I mean, I don't want to be a gatekeeper, but it is my responsibility in terms of what the city's putting out as a word. I guess the question is, does it need to be, if you're simply letting people know about the events?
Yeah, I don't have the answer. I just wanted to bring it up.
Right. And I do know, Dina, that the city, I think the city used to contract or support the community center in maintaining a calendar of events for the city, or of community events. I don't think they're able to do that at this point either. There's so much going on and so many ways of doing things, and what do you post? I can ask if there's kind of if there is a community calendar that's sort of ongoing that you guys could just send direct information to directly, because I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. Hey, Dina found out about the Grange starting up this event now. You can just send it right over to where, if that's the community center still, or something like that.
Yeah, and when we get it all straightened out about the city's social media, then that would possibly be a way. Not the Facebook group that Holly posts to, that's the city's, but with the whole relaunch, and there was like, okay, social media is going to be redone too. And it's just too much for the education outreach group to have their own social media. We need to be
right. And
places.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate, it gets complicated for city government because we have record retention requirements. We can't just post a bunch of stuff without retaining that for, I mean, I think we probably got 25 to 30 public PRAs last year, public records requests. So if someone requests records for that, it's like you have to be able to maintain that records. And I think that's where social media and government, the Brown Act laws about that kind of stuff don't play very well together, unfortunately. And I don't have a solution for that. Other than, we maintain our website as a city, but how it interacts with someone wanting to do more community related stuff on a city or a governmental format, it does get complicated.
Yeah. It's a topic because I read it in the climate action framework. So how do we do it? It's just something to think about.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Sonali, did you want to speak to that?
I'm wondering with the social media part, since it's public record and it's hosted on a site where you can access the archives, does that counteract that aspect of needing to provide public records? And then to Dina's point, Dina, thank you for bringing this up. The Sebastopol Times is a new publication, and I'm grateful that they have been working with us as they have. I think it's different if it comes from the Climate Action Committee, to say, hey, these are all these events. Like, it's just a great way of even meeting people twice if they've seen it once at Sebastopol Times. That whole idea of, us needing to see things 7 times to drive it home. I don't feel like that would be redundant, but I hear the complications with the protocol.
All right, Debbie?
I'm just curious, well, there is some good news on the social media aspect. Although Relaunch didn't do it, one of the things our city manager is trying to do before he leaves is broaden what is now considered the downtown shopping area, which would bring more money in, which would give more money to put towards these type of things. So maybe we can finally have a unified, it's going to be there. Maybe we can finally have some unified voice here. So that is a positive note on that. I'm wondering, do we have the capacity, Carrie, to start building our own email list? And are we allowed to email to our email list if we build it about events that aren't city hosted? And how could we potentially skirt around that if we're not allowed?
I think you as an individual, and any one of you guys as an individual, can do that. And it's not a Brown Act to simply share information about upcoming meetings and things. It's only a Brown Act violation for you all to be discussing offline things that you're going to be talking about at a meeting, making decisions about.
Okay,
does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So we can have an email list that we gather however it is, and that we send an email, and we can even, just to be clear, use the city logo or cannot use the city logo. So,
I was talking about an informal.
Okay.
We do now that said, we do have with our new website, there's a couple of things going on. One is that if it does need to be an official city thing, the city does, we maintain constant contact email lists for a couple of different, quite a few things. I don't know what the categories all are, but I do know we have one for housing and homelessness kind of related issues. And we do have one for climate and sustainability. So people who have subscribed to that, we can send out blasts, or Holly can send out a blast really easily to that group.
Okay.
But again, that's going to be through the official, that's if it needs to go through the official city channels.
Okay, I think I understand. Just to clarify, if it's not a city event, but somebody has checked off that they want to hear about climate action events, the city can send it out and we can send out.
Yeah, it would be anything, city events and others.
Right. Okay,
So the list is like anything, like my housing and homelessness. They get to hear about the housing element. They get to hear about upcoming hearings. They get to hear about anything related to that.
We can build our own list however we want and send out anything.
Yeah, you don't, as the city attorney often tells me, you don't lose your right as an individual just because you're part of a member of a board.
Okay, and so then can I add something to that? Can we just have anybody, if they know of any events, maybe send it to the education group, and then we'll work on privately on our own on our own format, how we want to build the list and how we want to email them and who, but like anything anybody knows about, if they send, you can send it to me, and then we'll work at it at privately on at our working group.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing from this is that the Climate Action Committee should not be sending emails that are signed the Climate Action Committee or the outreach working group of the Climate Action Committee, but that Debbie could build her own email list and
Yes.
send out her
Yeah.
own emails.
Yeah,
As
and
long
if
as
you
she's
do
not
want it to
signing
say
them from the
Climate
committee.
Action Committee, then it would need to go through.
Just to
me.
be
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, no, I got it. But can you guys email me and tell me, hey, Debbie, I know this event is going on? Like, people can email me and
Yeah,
tell me.
that's
Okay,
fine.
okay.
Okay,
So
I'd like to move on from this topic. So, and I hear Lisa's question.
Oh, it's part of this topic. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm really glad that Dina brought this up because we have a pretty long list from the old Sebastopol Climate Action Committee before we became a city committee of people who wanted to receive information. And I'm sure that other people have lists, and I think part of our mandate really is educating people and getting the word out about events. So I think we should. I'm so happy, Debbie, that you're willing to take this on, and let's do it.
yeah, I'll talk to you offline and we'll get all the, yeah.
And I think one thing we could ask for from the city is a subscribe link to the to their list, so that in your personal communications, we could give people the tool to subscribe to the official communication channel as well. Alex?
A more formal announcement about the engagement series. The first meeting is on the 26th of January. I know I've asked some of you guys to be a part of that, and thank you so much for your willingness. I will be sending out an email later today, just kind of outlining the ask and just like clarifying the breakout group. That'll include like we're still drafting it, so we definitely want your feedback. But that'll include like a 1-page sheet that will kind of just be it will be a helpful like talking points and guide. And really, it's just about having a conversation with everybody that's in that breakout group. But anyway, just more to come on that. But I just wanted to make a formal announcement there. And then obviously everybody's welcome and encouraged to come. It's the January 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. And yeah, it's exciting. It's we have like 38 people on Eventbrite that have RSVP'd. So we'll have at least like 4 people come in real life. And yeah, so that's exciting.
That's great.
I'm not sure. I think there's anything else. Oh, there's going to be pizza. So yeah, that's all I have to share right now. But just thank you for everybody's help.
Thank you, Alex. This is very exciting that we're starting this right with the new year. Sunali, I saw your hand go up and down and up again. Did you have a question?
Oh yeah. Well, I was waiting for Alex to finish. It is exciting. And great raffle prizes. Right, Alex? Not just free pizza.
That's right. Yeah, thanks to Debbie for sure.
So as you know, the art installation is at the library right now. And I'm wondering if there's anybody among us who is a good photographer or at least has some decent skills that could take some photos so we could put them up on the website to help just drum up business around that. And I wasn't here the last meeting, so I don't know if Dina shared, but Rose, I forget his name, the fellow at the library, asked us to share in the group that they're doing a sidewalk art piece, and their intention is to paint all the pieces of sidewalk from there to Ives, from the library to Ives. And he mentioned, climate being a part of that and social justice. And I thought maybe we wanted to propose painting a sidewalk with something, with some statement. Maybe it's our logo, maybe it's like, one thing I've seen that I really liked was if the climate can change, so can we. But something to make a statement and contribute to that part. And also to spread the word about it.
Yeah, that sounds like a wonderful thing for the outreach committee to propose to the larger committee. And I encourage you to do so at our next meeting.
Sonali, can I ask a quick question about that? Is that okay, Kenna?
Sure.
I'm just wondering, what date do you need the pictures taken by?
It's coming down on the 19th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So,
Coming down
soon.
the 21st.
Oh, 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will be the last day. The 22nd is when it's coming down. So the last day is the 21st.
And Carrie, you've been waiting patiently.
No worries. I'm glad you had that. I just wanted to loop back and share my screen. There was a question about subscribing to city events, and I just wanted to show people where it is. On any of our pages, we have this subscribe button on the side. So like wherever you go, it always shows up there. If you click that button, this is the city's email. These are the topics I was trying to come up with, but climate issues is one of the topics that we have. And so that is how you would get on the city's email list for climate. Yeah, half of these are planning stuff, but those are the categories we have right now. And that'll get you there. It's a
So they
really
can
long
just
link,
grab
so I
that
don't really
link.
want to
They can grab that
post
link off the site anytime.
They can. I tried to post it to the chat and it was like 50 lines. So I don't know what's going on with it, but yeah, anytime you're going to the city webpage, the subscribe is that's what that subscribe button is. And it's on every single page on the website.
Great. Thank you so much. That makes it easy. All right. And Lisa?
Thanks for that. Never noticed it before. Super useful.
All right. So any other working groups want to report out today? Carrie, is your hand actually up?
Oh,
no. Okay. Ambrosia, great. We're excited to hear from Zero Waste Side.
So yeah, we met on Monday and just kind of, we started the meeting out with Alan and Shelly from the Gravenstein Apple Fair so that we can start getting ready and together an education, for events. And we're gonna start over at, hopefully, we're gonna start over at the community center. And kind of getting them into a more sustainable event center. But that's all we really have right now. We haven't actually worked through it entirely. So some calls are going to be made and yeah. So we're going to start small and then, go from there.
Great. Thank you so much. So glad you guys have been able to get some meetings together already this year.
Of course.
All right. So chair reports, unless any other working groups have something to say. We'll move on. I've already said that Argus is going to be stepping out and that Tanya is willing to host. So we have the option of a Civic Spark Fellow from that angle, at least. We will want to discuss meeting cadence. I put that on the agenda, but I think it doesn't really make sense until we have our newly reconstituted committee and full membership available. And it does seem that maybe we can because the budget cycle is now upon us, it would be a good idea for us to keep meeting on twice a month for the time being. But that is on our minds of, what is the cadence we're going to want moving forward as we move the work plan forward. And so if you guys can talk about that a little bit in your work groups of, do we think the larger group should be meeting on the same cadence that we have been, or do we want to create a shift somewhere? And then I don't want to repeat the council presentation because I think you've all seen it, but I just did want to say that a few things came out of that, like the questions that we brought to council about like working with city staff, they didn't really bite on or address, unless that got addressed, Carrie, in some way that I'm not aware of. But definitely what Steve called out from the mayor's comment, that they weren't really interested in us presenting regularly, that they more wanted us to present when we had a specific ask. Again, I'm not sure what it means that she said that in the meeting. I'm not sure what it means for the mayor to say something like that. Like, does it mean that that's how it is now, or how it moves forward? But I do want to really thank Joshua for being vocal when the council was expressing concerns about budgeting, because I was just like, well, we're not asking for that. So like, why are you, I just kind of my mind went I don't understand why you want that. We're not asking for it. So Joshua was saved the day with the work plan proposal, and Carrie did a great job of presenting it to council. So yeah, I'm not really sure what our communication, how we're going to be framing our communication with council moving forward. And hopefully when we get our new council liaison or our new old council liaison, we'll be able to get a little bit more clarity on how we do it. I actually liked having the time quarterly, and just to keep us at top of mind for the council. And especially now that we have the framework and the work plan to kind of try to keep that lens at the front of the agenda in their minds. But so we may change how we move forward with that. And I don't know if Carrie, you have anything to say about kind of how that works.
Not right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, Joshua, go ahead.
I would just suggest that we not go to less than twice a year. I don't know if it makes sense to go 3 times a year. And in particular, that we try to time our summaries to the council before they're getting ready to approve the next budget cycle, so that our activities and our projects are sort of renewed in their mind before they look at what they want to fund for the next round.
I think that is really good. It will require a little more proactive planning on our part instead of just waiting for us to be thrown onto the agenda, because we are on there regularly. I do want to share my screen just to bring the inspiration part of the, oh gosh, I'm having trouble with my presentation here. There we go. To remind you guys that this is what it's all about. Our work is making sure that the people and the children of our town and the whole planet have the ability to experience joy. And that's that we are the joy makers for the future. And to go forward, and just such great work that everyone is doing. Here's irrelevant to today, but to move to this slide, this is really my inspiration for the council and for us today, that when we turn a threat into a challenge, our body responds very differently. And those 2 men who are dancing in the lower left-hand corner have experienced many direct threats. And by reframing them as challenges, they really were able to experience and spread joy. And we here in Sebastopol have that same ability as well. So thank you for putting up with my continual need to provide inspiration to our group. And Joshua, do you have anything else for chair reports?
No, not specifically. It hasn't been mentioned.
All right. Any questions for Joshua and I before we move to agenda items? All right. So anyone have anything they want to put on next meeting's agenda? I think we will be bringing around the funding question again for sure. And we'll wait to hear from Energy if you're ready for your next discussion of your projects. Is there anyone else who has anything they'd like to have added to next meeting's agenda? All right, well, feel free to email us if something comes up. And Joshua, do you want to review the action items?
Yes, thank you. So in the short term, just a reminder to everybody to try to have a look at those climate related links on the city website that Carrie pointed out to us, specifically the prior climate protection campaign and the sustainable Sebastopol. And just we want to gather a consensus or a general quorum of opinion as to to what extent those should be edited and still connected with our website, with our page on the website. And secondly, this is the carryover one that basically all working groups should be trying to rack their brains this month to come up with some budget numbers for our activities for this year. That's really a priority through January so that we can get any serious needs into carry for inclusion in the planning department budget next month.
Great.
And if those are associated with a particular project, that would be helpful too, as opposed to just, we want more money for the blank.
Great. Great. Thank you all so much for coming. And does anybody have anything else to say before we adjourn? Yes, Debbie?
Oh, no. I was just going to say goodbye.
Okay. So this meeting is adjourned to our next meeting of January 25th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. And thank you.